Welcome to the Idaho Fishing Report. Whether you are planning just a couple of hours or a full weekend of fishing, this is your one-stop place for all the information you need to plan your trip. It's all right here, from weather forecasts and reservoir levels to the latest stocking reports and expert advice. And now, the host of Idaho Fishing Report, Jeff Cullers.
Welcome to another episode of the Idaho Fishing Report, and indeed I am Jeff Cullers, your host, and happy to be along with you today. Great show lined up for you. Jordan Rodriguez joins us from Tight Lines 208 as he talks about fishing for walleye, something I'm going to be doing here in an upcoming trip. We're going to give you your reservoir levels, your boat ramp information, that weather forecast, and a fantastic moon phase report. So stick around, anglers, to the Idaho Fishing Report. Let's start it off in the Magic Valley like we do each and every week. Sunset will be around 8:50 p.m. All right, weather is looking good and gonna get nothing but better as the weekend goes along. Thursday and Friday highs in the low 60s, but then that weather's just gonna get fantastic. High of almost 70 on Saturday and 81 on Sunday, mostly sunny. A very small chance of rain over Sunday, Monday, 16 and 19%. Average winds over in that area anywhere from 10 to 15 miles an hour. So that's pretty much to be expected, but not a whole lot of rain forecasted for the weekend. What about that reservoir level and boat ramp information? Lake Walcott sitting at 94% full with an elevation of 42-45. The boat ramp is open. Little Wood is sitting at 92% full with an elevation of 52-33. The Little Wood boat ramp is open. There's pretty big stocking going on this week from Fish and Game. Cedar Creek Reservoir will have over 11,000 fish stocked in there. A couple of fishing tournaments for you to know over in the Magic Valley. On May 14th, the Magic Valley Bass Masters will be at Milner Lake. They'll be using the Burley Golf Course. And on May 15th, the Mountain Home Hog Hunters will be at Lake Walcott using the State Park Boat Ramp. Joining us as he does each and every week, journalist, author, and creator of Tight Lines 208, Jordan Rodriguez. Jordan, how are you doing today?
I'm doing great. How about you, Jeff?
I'm doing fantastic. The forecast for this weekend looks absolutely beautiful, and I cannot wait.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's going to be great. It's been a long time coming, and I know a lot of people are pretty excited to get out and enjoy some nice spring weather for a change.
Absolutely. Yes, sir. I agree. Well, Jordan, what is that Tight Lines 208 hot tip of the week?
Well, you know, Jeff, last week when we left off, we talked a little bit about walleye or mentioned that as a good topic for this week. And it just so happens that it's a pretty timely topic because as some of the listeners may have read online, Fish and Game has captured an adult-sized walleye, 20-inch walleye, at Lake Cascade.
I saw that.
Which is the second time this has happened in the last, about 4 or 5 years. So not a lot of evidence, but certainly some evidence that there are at least some walleye in that lake. And then, you know, concerns about whether they might become established and what impacts they might have on other fisheries. So lots to unpack there. Maybe we steer away from that topic for now, see how that plays out, and just, you know, say it should go without saying, but, you know, definitely transporting fish, moving fish around from one lake to another is definitely against the law. It's definitely a bad idea for a lot of different reasons. It can have some pretty negative impacts. So, you know, I'm sure our listeners are not thinking of doing such a thing, but if you ever thought, well, it'd be cool to have crappie in this lake, they're not supposed to be there, right? Or if they were, they would already be, or that's, you know, we leave those decisions to the professionals at Fish and Game. So with that being said, we'll see what happens at Cascade. Hopefully all is well, especially with the perch fishery. But if you do want to catch a walleye in Idaho, we can talk a little bit about that. And there's really for our listeners, well, even statewide, honestly, there's only a couple of places that are worth your time. For me, I live in the Boise area. The two places that I would target for walleyes are Salmon Falls Creek Reservoir,
Yep.
which is over south of Twin Falls, and then Oakley, which is kind of in a similar direction but further east, kind of south of Burley area. And there's another one up north. Ponderay has walleye, and there's a couple others that have kind of smaller, less established populations. But for the purposes of this conversation, let's focus on Salmon Falls Creek, because that is the place that I have the most walleye fishing experience here in Idaho. So the reason they're there, they are there on purpose. They're managed by Fish and Game. They're actually stocks. They're brought in from, I want to say, Montana, potentially Arkansas, but they're brought in from out of state. We don't have any walleye hatcheries, so they bring them in pretty big loads. There is also natural recruitment, which means that the fish in the lake are having some spawning activity and reproducing naturally as well. So from my experience, Salmon Falls Creek is actually a pretty quality, high volume walleye fishery. There are a lot of walleye in that lake. Most of the fish tend to be in like the 10 to 15 inch range. So we're not talking about, giant Great Lakes class walleye here, but they are great eating. And of course, a walleye is a fish that can grow to over 30 inches. And so occasionally, larger fish over 20 and even pushing 30 inches do come out of there. One might fish there regularly even, and without knowing walleye were in there, or maybe not knowing how to target them. You may not ever know about it, to be honest, because a lot of the methods that are most effective for catching walleye are going to be different from what you might do if you're, fishing for trout or bass or panfish. Salmon Falls Creek also has pretty good populations of stocked rainbow trout, smallmouth bass, and also yellow perch. So for me personally, I have caught walleye two ways at Salmon Falls Creek. One is throwing swim baits. So these are small, soft plastic, 2 to 3 inch minnow imitations. And those are not too different from what you might throw for bass. In fact, the fish we were catching on those, it was about 50-50 between walleye and bass. The thing with the swim baits is the walleye have to be in the right mood and in the right position. And that usually means up shallow. So if they are pushing bait fish up into shallow water, like around shorelines, rocky points, things of that nature, or up into some submerged vegetation, if it's early in the year and there's enough water in the lake, those are areas where you can throw swim baits and probably feel fairly similar and familiar to fishing for bass and other things, and you can catch walleye that way. If they're not in that behavior, that means that they're usually down a lot deeper, like into the teens or even 20s in terms of feet of water. And those fish behave differently, and the best way to target those is with trolling. And the trolling setup that I used is a pretty technical, pretty advanced. We're talking like trolling the contours, so you're actually following certain contour lines on the lake and staying in, like, say 17 feet of water or 22 feet of water, whatever the graph tells you that where the fish are holding, and you're just scraping those like crankbait, jerkbait, Rapala type lures, and just getting them to where they're not quite hitting the bottom, but they're occasionally bumping. And that is, a very effective way to catch walleye on the troll. And when we switched over to the trolling, we weren't catching any bass, we weren't catching any other species at all, just the walleye. Not that you couldn't necessarily bump into something else, but it's pretty specific. It's pretty targeted at the walleye. A third way, which I have not personally fished, but there's a thing called a bottom bouncer. It kind of looks like a big boomerang or
Yep.
like an oversized spinner bait arm. And those are another way of trolling. And they usually have some kind of small, like a wedding ring or some kind of, they call them crawler harnesses. They're just kind of like a small spinner contraption that's tipped with a worm, with a night crawler. And that is another way that's real popular for catching walleye. I'm sure some people here do it here in Idaho and other parts of the country where walleye are very more abundant and very popular. The bottom bouncer is definitely a good way to go. And to be honest, it kind of fishes very similar to the trolling with crankbaits, where you're targeting specific depths where your graph is telling you there are fish holding, and you're just slowly dragging that up and down through those areas and dragging the bottom. And the reason being is that walleye are a schooling fish, so unlike trout or bass or something that's going to be a little more spread out, these are going to behave more like a perch or a crappie, where they are all kind of in a group doing the same thing. And if the listeners would indulge, I have a story from the Great Lakes that really drives this point home for me when I think about walleye fishing and the schooling mentality and the behavior of these fish. Is we were trolling on Lake Erie, which is world-class walleye fishing, and we were, Lake Erie is huge. It's like being on the ocean, and we trolled around for probably 2.5 hours, and we were marking some fish, but there was just absolutely nothing going on, no bites, no action of any kind. And we came over an area that was probably the size of a football field, maybe call it 2 football fields, which might sound big, but in a lake like Erie, that's, a speck. And in that area, the first time we came over it, we quadrupled up. So we had 4 fish on all at once. And we just continued to make passes over that same waypoint. And over the course of about 2 hours, we had limited out the boat with walleyes that were, averaging 3-4 pounds, all the way up to a couple that were 7, 8, 9 pounds.
Wow.
And it was just in that one specific area. So that really, for someone who hasn't done a ton of walleye fishing, and we just don't have a lot of it available here, it was really, really an eye opener to me to see, man, there's all this water, there's all this area where these fish could be, but this is where they are. And so, paying attention to your electronics and, making note of any places that do hold fish so you can make sure come back and hit those. Those are, very, very important skills to have if you're going to give walleye fishing a try.
Yeah, so that is a ton of information, and normally you'd have to pay a fee to go to one of Jordan's classes to get that much information. So thanks for sharing. And again, that website's tightlines208.com, so definitely check that out. But this will be you and I, we were talking about this. I think we were talking about it off air last week after we had recorded the show, and I had mentioned to you that I'm going for the first time ever walleye fishing, and I am going to Salmon Creek Falls Reservoir. So very excited about that. I guess, first time out there, I guess, pretty much just kind of following those contours seems to be the best way to go with this. Get that depth finder turned on and just kind of look for them, what it sounds like to me.
Yeah, absolutely. And my advice for you, Jeff, and for anybody who would be looking to go to, Salmon Falls or an Oakley and do it for the first time is to, kind of have reasonable expectations. And also, if you can, to make a weekend out of it. It's a long way to drive to do it there and back. And if you make, if you give yourself a couple days on the water, really increase your odds of A, kind of figuring it out, and B, probably even more importantly than that, is locating some fish, right? Because they are, especially Salmon Falls is a pretty big body of water, and so there's a lot of ground to cover. But I think you give yourself a good chance, cover water by trolling. wouldn't necessarily recommend going it on foot. I understand some people don't, that's the only way they can go, but a pretty difficult species to track down from the bank, at least in the scenarios that we have here in Idaho. Again, nothing's impossible, and chase that dream, but a boat definitely a big help at a place like Salmon Falls.
Absolutely. Well, listen, we appreciate that. Tell the listeners what you've got coming up as far as Tightlines 208.
Yeah, so we've got fly fishing class is next week as we sit here tonight. It's a week from tomorrow on the 18th. That one is sold out. I will probably offer another fly fishing class maybe early fall while it's still nice outside, because that one is super popular and it always fills up really fast. The next class will be in June, and that will be Panfish School. So we'll be talking about all things perch, crappie, bluegill, the smaller schooling, delicious fish of our local lakes and reservoirs. So that is one to look forward to. I don't have a date set, but it will be like mid to late June. And by the next show, Jeff, I reckon we'll have a date dialed in, and we can maybe give away a spot to that on the show.
Absolutely. Well, and it's funny you mentioned that, because if you're a patron of the show and you sign up and help support us, we give away a ticket to that through the Gem State Fishing site. If you help support us, we give back. And so just another reason to get signed up for that. Jordan, we thank you. How can the listeners follow you on social media, my friend?
At Tightlions208 is my Instagram, and Tightlions208.com is the website. Come check us out. We offer all sorts of fun stuff, monthly classes, personal lessons if you can't make it out to a class. I've got some local fishing reports and some other fishing related news that I post up there very regularly, and including the little shout out for the podcast that's up there right now as we speak. So lots of fun fishing stuff at Tightlions208.com, and come check us out.
Yeah, we appreciate that article. That was awesome. That was that. If you look at that article, you'll see that's a 3-pound smallie I caught on the Snake River up at Hell's Canyon my first year here, and I've been literally hooked ever since in fishing in Idaho. So, Jordan Rodriguez, journalist, owner and creator of Tightlines 208, he joins us here each and every week with his hot tip of the week.
Thanks, Jeff.
All right, thank you, Jordan. All right. Well, big thanks to Jordan there. And exciting news we have. We have an opportunity now. If you want to help support this show, you can do that through Patreon. We have a link on our website. Just go to gemstatefishing.com, click on the Patreon site. Here's some good news, though, listeners. If you sign up to be a Patreon, there's a lot of advantages that you get. Like, you will get the podcast before anybody else does. But also, additionally, we're going to give you a discount to any of Jordan Rodriguez's Tightline 208 classes. Plus, we're going to give away a seat in every class that he has in the coming year, simply because you're a Patreon listener. So, if you'd like to support the show, you can do it for as little as $5 a month. And you can do that to help us continue to grow, and you get some great discounts, and you also get some great advantages. So, go to gemstatefishing.com, click on the Patreon page, and become an Idaho Fishing Report patron. Let's look at that Treasure Valley weather forecast for the upcoming weekend. Sunset around Mountain Home will be around 8:56 p.m. Highs in the mid-60s on Thursday and Friday. Saturday, a high is 73, 84 on Sunday, and then it's going to go down just a little bit, but it's going to be the upper 70s Monday, Tuesday, lower 70s on Wednesday. Again, no rain is in the forecast. Everything is in the single digits. Windy as usual over there towards Mountain Home, anywhere from 9 to 15 miles an hour. But Saturday looks to be your best day to get out. 73 degrees for a high, 3% chance of rain, and only an east-northeast 9-mile-an-hour wind. How about Boise? About the same thing. Sunset's going to be around 9 o'clock. Friday and Thursday, highs in the lower 60s, 70 on Saturday, 80 on Sunday. And then it's going to go down just a little bit. Monday, 77. And then all the way down to Wednesday, we'll be around 68. But again, mostly cloudy, mostly sunny, partly cloudy, all part of this weekend. There's a 24% chance of rain in Boise on Saturday. But the winds look fantastic. Single digits through the weekend. picking up a little bit later in the week. All right, what about that reservoir level and boat ramp information for the Treasure Valley? Anderson Ranch is at 51% full. That is down just a little bit, elevation of 4144. All boat ramps are open except Deer Creek and Pine. Earl Rock is at 85% with an elevation of 3202. Both ramps are open. Lucky Peak is up a little bit, 65% full with an elevation of 3017. That means Spring Shores, Maine is open again, but just barely, so be careful if you go on there. Of course, the slips are open along with Turner Gulch. Lake Lowell also up just a little bit, 59% full with an elevation of 2523. All ramps are open. As far as stocking goes, there is going to be stocking at Lucky Peak, 6,775 fish by Fish and Game. A couple more fishing tournaments here in the Treasure Valley. On the 14th, the Cowboy Bass will be at CJ Strike using the Black Sands boat ramp. And also on May 14th, the Idaho Bass Masters will be at the Anderson Ranch Reservoir using Curlew Creek. Hey, guess what, listeners? We have a new website. That's right, it's gemstatefishing.com. Go there to check out all the links because you can get all the information we provide here. You can also contact us through the site. Let's hit up that double nickel. Not as great a forecast for the Cascade area, but not terrible either. Sunset will be around 9:02 p.m. Rain is in the forecast for Thursday and Friday, about a 24% chance. High in the upper 40s. Highs in the mid 50s on Saturday, but an 82% chance of rain. So might be a good time to stay a little further south. Sunday gets a little bit better with a high of 66 and only a 16% chance of rain. And it's about the same for the rest of the week. Highs in the mid to lower 60s, mostly cloudy. Winds really aren't a factor up in that area. As far as Cascade boat ramp and reservoir level information, Cascade Reservoir is currently at 74% full with an elevation of 4821. Yes, that's up a little bit. All ramps except French Creek are open. Deadwood is sitting at 56% full with an elevation of 5309. Of course, that Cozy Cove boat ramp is open. Man Creek is also up quite a bit this week, 84% full with an elevation of 2883. Both the south and north ramps are open. Some stocking up at Horse Thief Reservoir this week. 7,000 fish will be stocked. There are no fishing tournaments for the Cascade area. Hey, do you want to be part of the show? Email us with questions or your fishing report from your last trip. You can email us at gemstatefishing208@gmail.com. Want to send me pictures of your fish? Send it to myfish@gemstatefishing.com. And if you have questions about the show or want something answered, email us at questions@gemstatefishing.com. Let's head over to the Idaho-Oregon border and the Snake River Reservoir area. Sunset will be around 9:06 Mountain Standard Time. Thursday and Friday, highs in the upper 50s, lower 60s, cloudy or partly cloudy. There's a 24% chance of rain on Thursday. Your best chance of rain over there is going to be on Saturday. Only a high of 65 degrees and a 67% chance of rain. Gets better after that. Sunday will be around 76. Only a 24% chance of rain. And it goes down a little bit from there. 73 on Monday. Upper 60s on Tuesday, Wednesday. Again, about a 16% chance of rain. Winds are pretty much negligible in the single digits. Brownlee is sitting at 2063. And good news, anglers. For the first time this year, all ramps are open. There are no fishing tournaments happening in that area. You can find us on Facebook groups or you can follow us on Twitter at Idaho_report. It is time for that moon phase report, and oh man, I've been waiting for this one. We got the full moon happening May 16th, which is Monday. And then on Tuesday, the 17th of May, we have the perigee. And just a quick recap for those that don't listen all the time. I know we've got a lot of brand new listeners this week. But the perigee is when the Earth and the moon are closest together. Apogee is when they're furthest apart. Many believe that fishing gets better when we're in the perigee. And also we have the full moon, which many people believe is outstanding for fishing. I'm one of those believers. That's why it's on this show. So the full moon will be here on Monday. So the next 6 days, Friday through Wednesday are going to be fantastic for fishing. Again, like I said, we hit the perigee on Tuesday, so business is really going to pick up on Saturday. Your peak times are going to be between 1 a.m. and 2 a.m. and again in the afternoon in that same kind of period, 1 p.m. to 2 p.m. and then a second peak right around 8 to 9 o'clock. That peak will really be pushing in the excellent condition. So if you can be out on the water late, that's probably your best time to be out there. Now, the peak times is when you see the bite. So a lot of times I'll get out there an hour or two before so I can kind of get set up, get to where I need to be, fish through that peak, and then back to another hour or two after that. So on the water 4 to 6 hours and just really kind of hitting that peak on both sides, on the front end and on the back end. The first of next week, because again, this show no longer just does the weekend. We go all the way into Wednesday of the next week. Really looking good. If you can get off of work Monday and Tuesday, peak times are going to be 4 to 5 a.m. If you're an early riser, that's going to be your best time, is that peak time is going to be solid in the excellent category. Similar peaks at 3 to 4 p.m. and another strong peak between 9 and 10 p.m. Wow, what a fantastic show. Jordan Rodriguez joined us from Tight Lines 208 to do a really deep dive into some walleye fishing, which I'm not going to be doing this weekend, but I am going to be going in a couple of weekends. And so I'll give you some feedback on that. You know, one of the things I haven't done this year that I did last year was kind of give you some updates on my fishing. I'm going back to school. This has been a really tight semester for me. We had some family issues. So I haven't had a chance to get out and do some fishing, but I'm hoping to get some done this weekend so I can give you some feedback as to what I did. Also, we're going to be doing some videos, and so hopefully we can do another podcast that kind of shows you our fishing. So super excited about what we have coming up here at Gem State Fishing and the Idaho Fishing Report. We're really growing here, and hopefully you will come along with us. Speaking of coming along with us, we have a lot of new people that have joined us this week, and we're just super happy to have you folks part of our listening audience and really part of the family. That's how I look at you. So you're here with us, and I want to take good care of you, and that's why I want to provide you with this information. So all the people that joined us this week for the first time, welcome aboard. I hope that you get everything out of this that you hope to. I really enjoy doing it. I will tell you again, all the information I give you is available for you to look for yourself. So if you're planning your own trip, if you go to gemstatefishing.com and go to the links page, everything that I provide you in this show, it's right there. So that's why I give this show to you for free, because, well, by golly, it's all out there for free for you to get. I will say, though, if you would like to support us, we do have some bonus content that we provide folks. We also have discounts to the Tight Lines 208 classes that Jordan teaches, and we're also giving away tickets to anyone who supports us through the Patreon site. So be a patron, join us today. You can go to our support page on our website and you can find that. Well, this is going to be a great weekend for fishing. I hope you get out there and have it. My grade, it's an A. This is an A weekend. I would almost give it an A+, except we've got some rain coming in a couple areas and windy over there, but it is a solid A. This is the weekend to say, hey, I'm going to do those chores next weekend. I need to get out there and find myself a dock or get on my boat and do some fishing. I highly recommend that you do it. So anglers, thanks for coming along and listening. I hope you've enjoyed the show, and I cannot wait to see you and talk to you again next week. Until then, with the Idaho Fishing Report, I'm Jeff Cullers, and I'll see you on the water. We would like to thank you for listening to the Idaho Fishing Report, and would like to remind you to visit our website, gemstatefishing.com, or you can find us on Facebook or YouTube. I'd like to thank our sponsors, our guests, and experts, as well as you, our listener, for making this show possible. This has been an Old Man Studios production. Join us next week for another episode of the Southern Idaho Fishing Report.